We thought we would sum up your team in a statement or a sentence. That was the only instruction, so it can go anywhere that you like.
Loose.
And
like most of our stuff.
the biggest loser from the weekend was Port Adelaide. This is how I've summed them up. Unfit, weak, slow, selfish, and lacking skill. But who do we blame? Is it Kenny? Is it Kari? Is it Cripper? Or is it Koshy?
Now, this is the first time I've heard you mention Gripper.
Well,
First time I've heard
this
you
is the
mention
first
Gripper.
time they thought it was a good idea to trade away one of your best players who was contracted and give away a future first-round pick in the mix of all these trades for not much. So if you're going to do that and you perform like that and you end up being a bottom six side and you've given away your first pick and the bloke that you let go who was contracted to your club plays a starring role for a club that beats you by 91 points, I think he's worthy of being thrown into the mix. I know you had some strong thoughts on this coaching thing, as we both have, and I just thought it was a waste of a year before it even started. When you sack your coach but you still keep him in the chair, it's never going to end well. So could it come to an early end? David Koch actually spoke on Eddie's podcast earlier on in the year and he was asked that question.
There's no way he's let go mid-season.
No. We're not that sort of club.
Okay.
We're not that sort of club.
Which I understand that they're not that sort of club, and I think that's terrific support and great respect for Ken. All they're doing at the moment is about the respect for Ken on the way out. Well, I think sometimes it can go the other way. And I made this point last night on First Crack that maybe Ken needs to go to them and say, look, you've been so good to me. This is causing a few problems. It's going to be a conversation every week. It's going to be unhealthy for all of us. The club, Josh, who is the future. I need to give him some clear air. I need to get out of here. So let's come to a financial arrangement. Pay me the lot, and I'll go. That's what's got to happen. Everyone leaves with a check. Everyone. So that's, in my opinion, I think Ken needs to see that. I think that's a smart solution for everybody. He can have a break, refresh, get himself ready for he's a good football person, Ken. He'll end up somewhere.
After 1 week, you think it's...
The problem they'll have, this won't be a 1 week conversation. This will be an every week conversation. We're 1 week in. And it's a smashing at the MCG. Now they'll probably beat Richmond this week. I think they got St Kilda after that. They might win that as well. Then they got a tough patch of about 6 weeks going. We'll be talking about them every week.
Every week.
This is going to drag on.
It was a bad idea.
It was a bad idea, and a bad idea getting worse.
Right, you got the Pies?
I got the Pies. As simple as this. Believe it or not. Are they the round one version or are they the round two version?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Everyone says to me, a little bit of Ripley's. Everyone says, gee, they look quicker this week. They look terrific. Pennebury as the sub. Was that a factor? I don't know. I want to see it again. The three tall forwards worked amazingly, but let's be honest. Who were they up against? Your man, Leary, looked more confused than any player I've seen. Finlayson had no idea.
In fairness to Lear, the midfield thought it was a good idea to run towards their own goals and not run back the other way. So they were left out to dry a little bit. So I'm not really putting it on the...
He did have to clamp six guys. I will give you that.
Structure at
I will give you
Port
that.
Adelaide. But I'm with you. So
I thought the Pies were the speed of ball was the discussion, not necessarily leg speed, but speed of ball. And they engaged in the fight. Side bottom was a lot better this week than last. I thought that was one of the bigger wins that they'd had. And just to see Dan Houston, and I know you're talking about it from a Port point of view, but let's do it from a Collingwood point of view. What an impact!
What a game!
Immediately,
what a game!
Weapons across half-back
he
everywhere.
Was so, and I said this at the trade period. Like, this guy, you don't understand how good he is. Like, if you've watched him really close, I mean, he's a dual All-Australian, so it's not breaking news.
He's hardly sneaking up.
No, he's not. But I think he has snuck up on a few. Like, his game is flawless. There's not a weakness in it, and Collingwood fans are going to love him.
Do you think he's fit now?
Well, last week was a question about was he prepared to go round one, and the answer was no. This week they used him more smartly, if that's the right way to put it, outside a bit more, a bit of wing, more half forward, and he wasn't required to carry the midfield because, to your point, they were good across the board. My question is, and I don't think they'll make the finals still but as much as they were good on the weekend, winter sets in, bodies get sore, injuries pile up and there's just too many that are susceptible to injury, and take a couple out of that lineup, then they're in trouble. I'm happy to be proven wrong. Dogs this week.
Dogs this week. It's going to give us an idea whether the round 1 or the round 2 pies.
Yeah, I think about round
0 and 1.
8, 9, in that stretch from sort of round 8 to 13 is where we're going to get a good look, because they'll have a break after round 3. They'll be able to freshen up again. Carlton, Sydney, Brisbane is a tough stretch after that.
I'm still a believer.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll follow that one closely. There'll be a storyline. Who's got the Giants?
You have.
I've got the Giants.
Yeah.
When you're on the road for 6 weeks, that win was one of the most important of any team. Callaghan and Toby, amazing, is what I've got. You know, the next 8 weeks, I think they played home once. So to go on the road, they get stitched up with their fixture more than any other team. They've got one game for the whole year at the MCG. To nail those first couple of wins early, when that game was in the balance, to be able to transition the ball like they did in those conditions twice and kick a goal. One was from kick in. Simon Goodwin would be absolutely doing his head in over that and sneak away with a victory without Hogan, without Big Briggsy and Lockie Keefe, our man Keefe in the ruck against
Hand
Max
on your
Gawn.
heart. Hand on your heart.
No chance. Gave him no chance.
Gave him no chance.
0. So this is the worst player to have the football in their hands at this moment. And he flushed it in the wet after being monstered by Gawn for the whole of the game. I was like, good on you. And Callum Ward needs a lot of credit for this as well. For him to divert his eyes left when Gawn was in the spot where any numbnuts would usually kick the ball in that moment. Ward's just gone, no, I'm going to find an option. It was just brilliant play.
Use of numbnuts was very good.
I like the exchange between Callaghan and Kingsley on the interchange bench, and I like that from a young player. He's come off of about 10 minutes ago, and he's standing going, what are you taking me off for?
Yeah.
And he was stalking the coach. Like, he didn't sit down on the bench, and then Kingy has got him back on, thank goodness. But he's arrived, as we know.
Toby Green, it's good to see Toby being Toby again. I don't think we got Toby last year.
No.
So 11, what do you have? He had 11 in the last quarter. He was huge. 23 touches for the day, 12 of them become scores. Unbelievable game, and great to see you back.
He spoke to Mitch Cleary in the change rooms after the game, and Mitch said, what were you thinking in the last quarter? And he said, well, I just wanted to get myself around the ball, and I just wanted to impact as many contests in these conditions as I could. And I think he's underrated for how intelligent he is from a football standpoint. So great leadership from them. That's a huge win. They're the real deal, and we'll see you in the finals, the Giants. No doubt about that.
You got Melbourne as well, I think.
Yeah, so we're doing it in order of you'll get your lick. Don't worry.
Whiz.
You'll get your lick.
The captain spoken this morning.
How do you concede back-to-back coast-to-coast goals in the wet to lose the unlosable? That was so important for them to win. I thought they were really good. I thought they were strong.
Can I go back to go forward?
Yeah.
I think that's the handball of the year from Darcy Jones. The handball of the year. The small man with the kid with the lid, the small man to have the wherewithal to get it out. I think they were real stiff, Melbourne, in that little passage, that little they'd squeezed in and he just found a way to get it through. That loose man, Bailey Fritsch, I could give you 5 other options.
Not your tip. Well, Stephen May would have been handy in that moment.
Well, if Fritsch wants to come back, that's fine. Stand on Lever's man. Yeah. Make Lever the spare. He organises everything perfectly. They didn't do that. This is a team that's got great experience.
Yes. They have a good mix of experience and youth, clearly, and that was the talking point. So if you're a Melbourne fan, you go, geez, the future's looking pretty good in terms of our personnel and our list. But in that moment, they needed that win. After everything that has happened in that position, that would have been the most important win, I think, of the round for any team. And they're so strict on their defence, the Ds. So to concede a kicking goal in the wet late and that other goal, which we've spoken about, they'd be furious about. Fumble the ball over the goal line, just some errors. I get that happens, but that was a very winnable game for them.
How good the kids, though.
Oh, amazing.
The kids look through it. What about Windsor's?
Oh, how many tackles did he break?
God, the big goal.
You can't tackle him.
The big goal was huge. You can't tackle him. I just think I'm so excited about him. I know we talk about him regularly, but even their youngsters, their debutants come on and really seriously impacted. I'd love to see them. I don't know. I'd love to see them trust Windsor in at centre bounces. I know he's at half back at the moment. It just can't be Oliver, Petrarca, Viney.
So what did you think of Petrarca? Looked like Petrarca,
Oh yeah,
didn't he?
Whiz.
Just looked like
invested.
Looked like
They told us he was invested.
He looked like the best, yeah.
You wanted to see it.
They're in love. You wanted to see it. So no concern there. He looked like the player that he looks like at his best. Oliver?
Why wouldn't you use Petrarca in the last centre bounce?
Well, his third quarter, where he's got some issues with my...
Oh, hello. Bit of Barry White just dropped in.
Yeah, I don't
Bit
know
of,
what's...
bit of Barry.
don't know what's that. Anyway, we're back. What about at the start to the third quarter? I think he had 3 centre bounce clearances, which led to goals.
Yeah, well, so why would he not be there when you need one? You
Is that
absolutely have to
on
have
the player or the coach?
it. No, they had a meeting. They had a little committee meeting, a powwow at the back of the square, and they sent Christian forward. I'm going, why would you do that?
Not sure.
I'd be packing me pants if I had to stand next to Christian Petrarca. They need a goal. This is it. It would have been Toby Green. So you got Oliver and Petrarca, and they did a really smart play. I don't know whether you saw it on the behind the goals or live, but they pulled, I think it was Viney, back about 10 metres forward. So there was space everywhere for Max to do his thing. And it just didn't. He tried to hit it to Langdon, and you're going, wow, that's different. Well, I don't think Langdon would be my first choice. What are you laughing at? So there's a few things that I would love to see them work on, but it was a cracking game. So
Great game of footy, great and hard to fault either team. It's just that the Giants were too good. Their record, I had this stat from my man Josh at Channel 7. He has told me that since the start of 2017, GWS are 22-4 in matches decided by 1 to 4 points. 22
It's a narrow market,
and
1 to
4 in games decided between 1 and 4. Well, to be involved in 26 games since 2017 decided by 4 points or less is a lot, and they've won 22 of them. So
sounds like a real Channel 7
anyway,
stat.
I thought that was a good stat.
Narrow.
You've got the Saints.
I don't think I have. I think you've got the Saints.
Oh, surely it's your turn.
No, you got the Saints.
I've got the Saints.
Yep.
When you spend all off season subtly telling the world you're going to be bad, chances are you're going to be bad.
No.
And they were bad. Okay, just
they
with
were
your
bad.
little Hewitt Packard there.
Yeah.
As you load up that game, I want you to tell me the final numbers on how many goals Adelaide kicked from 0 to 30. Because there was walking goal after walking goal after walking goal. Everyone's looking at me because my microphones went again, so apologies to that. But Kingy, how many goals for Adelaide from 0 to 30?
11
yeah.
goals too.
That's an issue.
Yeah, well, they kicked 21, so there's a few issues.
How many from the goal square? Was it 3?
I think, 3 from the
about
square.
half a metre out.
Yeah. No, they were bad.
Your thoughts? Did you think they'd be this bad?
Did I think? Well, they're gonna suffer some losses whilst they go through this phase. There's no shortcut. I don't know what the other option is.
There's a language shift at the club, though, isn't it? They've finally realised
I
that.
think it's being real, isn't it? I don't know what you want them to do. Do you want them to just come out and say, "Oh no, we're going to charge at the finals"? You go, "That's just ridiculous."
Do you know what I want them to do?
What do you want them to
Not talk about 2023 and playing finals anymore.
I get lost with this because I don't know what you want them to say.
Oh.
In the end, it's just punching games into these kids. They've got to get a couple of midfielders of note. Like Jack Steele yesterday, he was left in the wake of the opposition breakaway mids time and time again. And I'm looking at it thinking, do they just have to try someone different in the middle? Do they just have to put, not just different players, but youth in there and try and find out whether they can do it? I mean, I know I'd bang on about Nasai Wangan and Miller are going in there, and that's going to wear thin. But maybe Higgins has to go in more regularly. Someone with some speed and some dare. Even the young kids that they're playing forward, I know they're light bodies, but the ones they got in there at the moment aren't getting it done.
I tell you who shouldn't be in there.
Who?
Is Jack McRae. Now, people are going, oh, gee, he's had 34 and this many clearances. I couldn't care less. I'm not sure one of them did any damage.
Not sure one of them.
No, I'm actually how many score involvements from 34 touches? 7 score involvements. I think it was 2 at half time.
Which was third ranked on the ground.
Yeah, but 2 at half time. And how many metres gained for 360 metres gained from 34 touches, 13 kicks. I think there was 2 that were effective.
Tried his heart out.
Oh, but if
just
you're
sometimes
talking about the players that you want in the midfield, it's not going to be Jack
He had
McRae.
12 clearances.
Yeah, I know that he had 12 clearances. There was 0 damage inflicted from those 34. Now, his numbers will look great every week, but that's not the strategy you want, is it? If you're going to be young, if you're going to tell us how young you are, to go and put him in the midfield and be the guy, He's like their
So
number
what do you
one
want him
midfielder.
to do? You're on selection this week.
This is what I want. This is what I want them to do.
This week.
I want them to drive the hardest standards out of any club. I don't want to hear Ross get up there and say, our players have 3 days off a week. We don't train. We have 16 hours at the club. Cuddly Ross, it's all good. We're young, no worries. We played in finals in 20. This is the language. I want to say that this is not good enough. I was brought into this club to be the most demanding coach. It's what I've always been, and it's what I've had most success doing. I don't want my assistants appointing assistant coaches that they want. I don't want my assistants looking after the game plan. It's your club. Make it your club again and drive standards and not have players miss tackle on the boundary line, walk in goal after walk in goal after walk. That's got nothing to do with talent. That's all about standards. And I thought Ross would have had harder standards. 1300 736 736. I feel like I've had a couple, so it must be your turn.
I want you to explain to me what Caminiti actually does to get a game. At some point during the year, just give me a yell.
I'll tell you.
Righto.
I'll put that on notice. You've got your flag favourite Dockers.
Yeah, I certainly do, and I'm glad that I have. The Art of War. Ever read The Art of War? Excerpts from The Art of War?
I haven't.
They've got a few quotes there you should read.
Okay.
Good reading. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither your enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. By his own admission, Justin Longmuir said he wasn't prepared. He didn't prepare his team for this battle. They spoke about don't let Geelong out the back, don't let them get it goal side, don't let Cameron, don't let Myers do that. They weren't ready for Dempsey taking their wingman to the square. They weren't organised behind the ball. They didn't communicate behind the ball. They got assaulted by Bailey Smith for 120 minutes and did nothing about it. This is top line AFL footy. Strategy needs to be at the absolute pointy end to beat a team like Geelong in Geelong. A fellow contender. They were miles off it. They weren't ready for what came at them. They weren't ready. Now, this is my only asterisk in the whole they should win the flag discussion, is are these guys leading the way in terms of strategy and science with their program? And on what we saw on the weekend, it's not just a question mark. It's gone from a headache to a migraine. So I think there's real challenges that they will have to front up to today as a match committee. And I wouldn't be surprised if you put your hand up to grips. I didn't have you prepared for that one.
Well, he did after the game. He said, I'll put my hand up. I clearly didn't prepare them the right way. We'll review all aspects of our week. I'll review my performance and we will put out a better showing next week. I think the team we put out can produce a much better performance than that. 178 handballs. You heard that right. 178. Geelong laid 89 tackles. They kicked 14 goals off Fremantle turnovers. The handball happy Fremantle Dockers. Just give it to someone else, hot potato style, and Geelong go, all right, we'll take that. And they smashed them. 10 goals in the last quarter. It only happened twice last year, and that was North Melbourne and Richmond in round 24. So a nasty, nasty loss.
So we only had 12 teams last year kick more than 20 goals in any given game. So we had 216 games of footy and had 12 teams do it. We had 2 on the weekend. I can't believe it's against Fremantle. I look at their backline and I say, no, there's no way they're conceding that. Their midfield, everyone tells me how good their midfield are, but they just went one way for 75% of the game. I couldn't believe it. For players you normally bank on. You normally bank on Brayshaw. You bank on Sarong. I know they're missing a few, but gee whiz, there's some early discussions to have there. You can't have a powwow just yet, right? You just got to dust it off and move on and say, okay, it's on the road. We've got some mitigating factors, but that was as poor a performance from Fremantle.
I think there's a good list in players who have read their own press over the off-season. There's a good list in it. Like Harley Reid, for me, would be number one. He read his own press. Hasn't worked as hard as he needs to. But Josh Tracy and Jai Amos would be up there. I'm not sure how those two are going at the moment and whether they've just signed the big deals and read the press over there in the West Australian about how good this new forward line is. Finally, there's a replacement for the Pav. I think they've had a good, comfortable off-season by the looks.
Scores from stoppage, 9-5-59. That's the 7th highest result for Geelong in 6 years of footy. 6 years. Fremantle have only had 5 games in the last 8 years with a poor result. That is not just that's being humbled in the midfield where they are supposed to be dynamite.
All right. Strong. Murphy Reid. Well, congratulations to him. It was so good, so watchable. It was just like it was a moment in the game that the game needed. Kick 4 in 6 minutes.
Pop quiz.
Yes.
How many players last year kicked 4 goals in any given quarter?
In any given quarter, 2?
7.
7.
So for a debutant to do it, it was unbelievable.
Touch on them all. We're up to the Cats. What have I written down here? Chris Scott does it again. Geelong's dynasty-defying machine embarrassed Longmuir's handball-happy Dockers, proving once more that the AFL's equalisation model is just a theory at Cardinia Park. As we touched on a little bit, don't need to spend too much time on it, but 90 tackles, 14 goals off turnover. They looked powerful. They looked strong. De Koning was a plus in the ruck. And we're going to speak to Jeremy Cameron a little bit later on in the program.
Can I give you my number one stat in footy?
What's your number one stat in footy?
That is a genuine success indicator. Is scores having punishing capabilities when they win the ball back at halfback. Geelong kicked 9 goals from their halfback area on the weekend. That would be 4 times the AFL average, 3 times the AFL average. They were just dynamite. And you see the way they set up with their forwards. And if you aren't ready to cope with that, you will leak, you will bleed. Any early thoughts on what you think Bailey Smith can do in combination with Max Holmes?
Yeah, everything that we thought he would at his best. And I think the ability and the versatility of Chris to use him will get the best out of him. He's the best coach in football, so he'll find a way. They've embraced his personality, the fact that he's slightly different and high energy, which they do better than anyone. He's embraced that at the footy club. I think his ball use at times is still going to be a work in progress. And they did at one point in that third quarter when Luke Jackson went in the ruck and got some dominance. They couldn't resist putting Dangerfield and Stewart on ball. So that's a watch. When they're really under the pump, great luxury to have Dangerfield forward. He had 5 score involvements in about the first 10 minutes, winning contest forward of the ball. But how long can you leave him forward of the ball when the game's really in the balance is a good watch for me. You put it on North Melbourne. In fact, you put him in the gun on Friday. What'd you see?
Oh, I want to know when Arden Street will become Quality Street. They're just the same stuff. It's just the same mistakes. It's rinse and repeat every week. Won a lot of clearances. Geez, we were good around the clearance. Won a lot of clearances. Nothing comes from them. It's grab, dump, kick. Grab, dump, kick. Handball to someone who dump kicks. Handball to someone who scrubs it along the ground floor. There's no explosion with a midfield that should explode. They got guys in there that can step for Australia. Right, LDU on the move. Simpkin can do it. We've seen him do it. When he's full of confidence, he's doing it all the time. Powell can do it, but he doesn't do it. So I'm looking at them all thinking, why don't you threaten to get to the outside? Why don't you threaten to run and carry? At least create some trauma for the opposition midfield and get some quality ball. They just don't get it. And then when they give it back, they're almost caught out of position straight away. So they bleed on turnover because of that. So one creates the other. And then their ability to defend, the coast-to-coast ball movement, was just disastrous. So I'm looking at thinking, surely this is everything that every training session I go to in the summer, a team saying this is how we want to move it and this is how we want to stop the opposition movement. That's all they do.
Do you think North are only focusing on how we move it and not how we stop it?
No, I don't know what they're focusing on.
What are you? You're close to the club.
No, I'm not.
You are close to the club.
I'm not
You're
close
an
to the club.
influential figure
That's
at the footy
not true.
club.
I don't go there
What
at
is
all.
the feeling?
I
And
stay out of the
is
way.
the elephant in the room the coach, like others have suggested over the weekend?
Well, we can't say it's the coach at other clubs and it's not the coach at North Melbourne. Ultimately, they hold the reins into what they value, what they reward in terms of the players individually, and I don't know if it's hard enough. And Caleb Daniel, for the first game of the club, he did some things that were seriously disrespectful to his teammates. I showed them first crack last night.
For those that missed it?
Yeah, well, he's in a position to protect that release kick down the line. He's playing that high halfback role. Okay to let your man go wide for a possession, but he challenged the ruckman to do the job for him and then didn't have any involvement in covering for him. So the next play comes down. Well, Tristan Cherry says, I'm not gonna go there again because Tim English just kicked a goal on me. So then he plays the selfish game. And he goes and covers his man instead of the team function. Now that's just disintegrating round one. So there's a lot of work to do. And again, you spoke about this last week. It's 113 points again. They're big numbers. Yeah, and this is without Bontempelli, Waitman, Treloar, Jamara, Liam Jones, all these guys that we said, okay, this is a winnable game. And they still kick 113 points. So I just think they've got to get off the treadmill of the same game every week.
Yep. Melbourne this week, Adelaide, Sydney, Gold Coast, Carlton, Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. It's not going to get easier, I wouldn't have thought. And until they want to bind defensively, then the same things will happen. All right, Kingy, the Western Bulldogs.
How good were they, Cornsey? Look, as much as we talk about coaches a lot, and Bevo's got more feedback than anyone, to be able to get them up and to be able to theme a game and structure the game in the right fashion. I don't know if it was the toughest challenge on the weekend having the Kangaroos the way they played, but he still got it done with minimum chips in terms of talent. Ed Richards is a serious AFL footballer.
Yep.
Serious AFL. I don't know where he'd be in your... Was he in your 50?
I think he made...
Was he in the floating
40s?
Floating 49?
He was in the 40s, I reckon, from memory.
He was one of the 6 players, number 49.
He might have come in at 51, but I think he was in the 40s.
So Ed Richards finishes with 30 disposals, 7 clearances, and of his 30, 11 become scores. Like that's a number, isn't it? I love the game of Aaron Norton. I think they got so many standard setters. It's just a different part of the Dogs. So they were absolute
Finals
quality.
bound.
Well, they're going to be in the fight. They're in the squeeze, aren't they? There's going to be a game or 2 games that are going to separate 6 teams. So they're in that mix. You wouldn't have them in finals.
I don't have them in the finals.
No,
I don't. But I agree with your sentiments, and I really like the way that they're handling the awkward and sensitive nature around the coach's contract. I think all the language coming from the club, including from Luke himself, as I said last week, has been first class.
He won't be sacked, mate.
No. Well, I don't know I don't know if that will happen or not. But I think it's been very mature the way that both parties, the footy club and Amit Baines with Jared, what he said about it, and then Luke himself last week, I thought was exactly the way you should handle it. Collingwood, Carlton, Fremantle, Brisbane to come in the next month. It is a tough one. Adelaide, brilliant start against the easy beat Saints and should start the season 4-0, but a hard call on Tex is coming.
Oh,
yeah. He's not in their best 22. So how they...
What do you mean?
He's not in their best 22. He's Fogarty and Thilthorpe's forward line. I've been telling you that for 6 months. He's a good depth player. He's handy if one of them goes down. But as we saw yesterday, it won't function as well with 3 of those big immobile forwards.
Yeah, see, this is where I see it different.
Yes.
I think they should, because they've got a history of injury with Thilthorpe.
Yeah, that's why he's a depth player. That's what I said.
Thilthorpe?
No, Tex is a handy depth player if one of those goes down.
I hadn't finished what I was saying. You're finishing my sentences for me.
Sound like Jack.
We'll cut that from the podcast. I would massage those 3 guys. I'd have them having a week off each every 4 or 5 weeks. I'd make sure that if you are going to have a finals run, that Fogarty, Thilthorpe and Walker are all cherry ripe fit.
So if
I'd protect them.
So that's
at the expense of best and fairest. And
that's
all
a good solution, and I'm not offended by that. But come first final, which they will be there, Adelaide, are you picking all 3 or are you picking 2?
You never have to worry about that. It's a discussion for us all year. Generally, one of them's not available, and then you just pick the informed ones.
So this week they play Essendon. They're all fit. Are you picking all 3?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
They all play this
all
week.
All play.
Okay. Who's got
and hit the scoreboard?
You've got the Suns.
Before you leave it, can we just...
Well, we're a bit hard on time.
I know we're hard on time, but they got the mix right. I love Dawson and Rankin 50-50 forward on ball. I love Shelley exclusively forward 50. Laird, get him out of the middle. Back. We've been talking about that for... Looks terrific. They should make a big charge. Who's next?
You got Gold Coast.
Have talent, will travel. They've lost their last 10 games on the road, and they just made a statement on the weekend. Matty Rowell just went to a new level, and this midfield just got rolling. Ben King, if Ben King gets a mismatch, he's the best in the competition at cashing in, the absolute best. Waiting on Ballard to see whether that's a serious knee injury or not. That's a bit of a loss if that's the case. But I thought this was exactly what Damien Harbuck needed to see from this team. Got a team that, could be a bit sticky. West Coast on the road, round one, can't lose this one. Got to get off to a flyer. The draw opens up for them if they can take advantage. I thought it was a powerful performance.
I've got West Coast. Same, nothing's different. I used to judge West Coast by, how long can you stay in the fight for? Because there was a point where it got, quarter time, game over, the result has been decided. Same last night. Quarter time, it's over. Now, we're not expecting them to win many games of football, but how long can you stay in the fight for? And how can we judge things that have nothing to do with talent and how easy it is for the opposition? Too easy to play against. Game over at quarter time. Same. Nothing is different. Quick word on the Lions.
MIA. Lockie Neal was MIA.
He was.
Harris Andrews was MIA. MIA to HIA. The head injury assessment, unfortunately for Starcevic, to AOK. Zach Bailey, unbelievable in moments to get him over the line.
MIA to AOK.
MIA to HIA to AOK.
It's creative from you.
So I like what they were able to do when they didn't play their best footy and they still got the job done.
Yeah.
It was a good game, wasn't it?
It was a good game. It was a really good game.
Couple of lapses from the Swans were really costly.
Sydney, the best 0-2 team. I'm not panicking about
They have gone
at all.
They have gone from horse to the stubborn mule. McCartan strengthens the back line. In his absence, they are lacking.
He went back.
Yeah, I know
he went back.
We'll start him back.
Is that a win for me where I said it would last 2 weeks?
Well, I did ask you the question.
It lasted 1.5.
I had an answer in mind, and you said 2. And I
went, 1.5. It lasted 1.5.
So
he's gone. Look up. The game's on the line. He's back.
Where is he? Who are we kicking it to?
He's back.
So they just got to dot their I's and cross their T's. They had some lapses at stoppage. Blakey, I showed one last night. Haywood, your man, didn't see through. He
hasn't had a great
Bailey.
start, my man.
No, I know. He's not in your All-Australian squad this year.
Not at the moment. He's not.
So that's the Sydney Swans. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. But they've got a big game this week on the road over at Fremantle.
My Hawks.
Are they the Pies of 23?
They look like it.
Are they the Pies of 23 that are going to come in with this ball movement pattern that just looks ridiculous? The kickers are everywhere. They don't lead to the kick. They kick and make you lead. They're unbelievable the way they move the ball. And the midfield is just getting better and better and tougher and tougher. I really like the way they play. They get you on ball movement, not necessarily clearances, but forward of the ball was good to see the Smalls back in form after a pretty quiet week, round 0.
That's right. I think you summed that up nicely. I've got the Bombers. The Bombers had a serious crack, but were not prepared to take care of the little things. And unfortunately, there is no money-back guarantee or returns on Ben Mackay. You know when you buy something, you take it home, you whip the labels off, and you try it on. And you go, why did I take the labels off before I tried it on? Because it doesn't fit. And now I can't take it back.
You take it back.
Because the tags are off it and they won't return it. That's exactly what is happening.
You take it back, I know you.
So 9 high free kicks they gave away when I speak of little things. They slipped over probably 50 times. Like, get the right boots on. They conceded 2 kicking goals and one of them they clearly weren't pre-scouting what happened at the SCG with Hawthorn and that set play because that caught them asleep and that cost them a goal and it's a close game. Apart from that, it was all pretty good.
Jai Caldwell may have played one of the best games for the year.
It was awesome.
It'll be in the top 10 individual performances for the year. It was just he was tough.
Can we get Perkins on ball a bit more? 12 in the last quarter, 4 score involvements. Redman out.
Yeah,
Perkins
that
in.
didn't work. I don't mind the idea of having a look though. You've got to explore. You've got to explore. I mean, if Sydney had explored with Jordan Dawson a little bit of midfield time, he's probably still there.
Probably still playing at Sydney. It'd be pretty handy for them.
Not a bad player.
Now, we haven't done Carlton and Richmond, but we did them in depth on Friday morning. So, Tigers fans, we sung your praises and the fallout for Carlton was significant. Go back and listen to the Fireball Friday podcast if you want our thoughts on that.
I've got a topic.